We're getting into the top 10. Top 10 time. Top 10 time. Illinois. Illinois is the number 10 team. Yeah, Illinois. I know how to pronounce it. I like saying the S. To me, it just, I'm not French. I don't like changing things up. Even though I say Louisville, I can say Louisville too if you want. Or you want me to be consistent, but it's Illinois. Okay. Big changes. Running back McCray's gone. Went to Georgia. I think it might be a big loss. We'll see. He didn't have the most amount of numbers. They lose their top wide receivers though, Bryant and Franklin. Well, Altmaier's gonna have to find a new outlet there. Defensive line also lost some guys. And then there's a shuffle at linebacker, but it's more like they're kind of just readjusting things. I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue in terms of like changes. Key players: Luke Altmaier in that spread offense. He's going to spread it out. Who's he going to spread it out to? Well, he has a new wide receiver from West Virginia, Clement, who I think is going to be a solid guy for Illinois this season. And then Lawfrey and Fagan. Lawfrey kind of split the snaps with McCray, so that's why I don't know if McCray was totally a big loss, but pretty big guy. That's why he's at Georgia. And then Fagan's going to get his time to shine this season, who I think is going to get this similar amount of numbers. Maybe Lawfrey's more of like the pass option guy, third down back. The offensive line is the reason why this team is top 10. You have J.C. Davis at left tackle, who was the number one tackle last year's portal coming in for New Mexico. Right tackle Priestley, who started last year. Fruits at center, and at left guard Getsky. The right guard, I think, is Henderson. I don't have him in my notes. He actually scored a touchdown against Nebraska last year, and actually got starts later. He was kind of like their six. They just run some packages where they have like a 6 lineman on the field. But yeah, that's there. And then we're going to talk about that more on Wednesday, why they're also a top 10 offensive line. So tune in on the Wednesday show. 3-4 defense, led by a great defensive back unit. Bailey, who's their top in production for the defense. Scott and Patterson also helping lead in the way with them. And then they have a really awesome linebacker core. Yakis Rusek Krutz, who's technically the center's brother, a linebacker. And then Lowry, who's going to be coming in from the portal out of Wisconsin. Actually, there's a lot of Badgers. Not just Lowry, who I have for key players, but I think a defensive tackle, Neal, who's going to be leading that 3 front. And then at defensive end, Thomas Jr., also a former Badger. Brett Bielema doing the business. And again, these Big Ten teams, they don't have a lot of tough games. They don't really play a non-conference schedule that's crazy, but also like their conference schedule isn't too crazy either. If anything, they're closer to the group of 5 teams than the SEC when you think about it, but it's just top heavy. Week 4, big game against Indiana in Bloomington. This game has actually been a very close contest the last 2 times, but also the last 2 times it hasn't been Cignetti in charge of the Hoosiers, but we'll see if we get the same kind of flavor of it being an absolute close game. Also, did you know this used to be Illinois' old mascot? They got rid of in like the late 2000s. Like, why would you get rid of this? This is sick. Like, come on, what are we doing here, guys? Week 5 USC. That might be like their Michigan game this season. They have them, the Trojans at home. I'm not very high on USC. Again, I think we're going to move our bold predictions to Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit more USC when we go live for that show. Number 7, Ohio State. This one's also at home. This is the game they probably are not going to win. Very much like going to be the Indiana situation for the Hoosiers last year, where they do have like a great opening season and then they meet the Ohio State Buckeyes and get smacked. Maybe we'll see if they make it a game. The week 9, well, technically there's a bye, so go to a bye, and then week 9, I think the game at Washington might be tricky. Jetfish towards the end of the season. I think it's gonna be a great Husky team. They might catch, let's say they win Indiana, USC, close game against Ohio State, and then they get a sneaky game on the road there in Seattle. I would not be surprised. But we're having them go 10-2. Yeah, I'm very confident in that. I think they're going to be Indiana on the road. I think they're going to be a little bit more physical than the Hoosiers. And then the easy layup, I feel like, is going to be the USC game. To some people, it's going to be like, oh, but it's USC. I'm like, yeah, but it's USC under Lincoln Riley. I kind of don't care about Caleb Williams winning the Heisman. Kind of feels like it was a fluke. Regardless, yeah, 10-2. If they go 9-3, I don't know where they lose that game. It's probably going to be a team that they shouldn't have lost to, which would be kind of a bummer because I'm really high on this Illinois team. Their weakness, elite opponents. Penn State last year only scored 7 points. Luke Altmaier had a turnover. I think their running backs did as well. They just got to play clean football, I think, a little bit more rather than, kind of stepping up. They were moving the ball down the field in Happy Valley. It's just like, again, I think it's more of a mental against the elite opponent rather than like the production. So we'll see what happens. The defense, if the defense can hold like Ohio State to 21 points, their offense should be in contention to winning that game somehow, some way in Champaign, which is nuts, absolutely nuts. But like, that's kind of like the gap, like 7 to like the couple of the teams we're going to talk about now, maybe 8. Like there's a huge gap from like 8, from the top 8 to like the rest. There's kind of a big gap. If you can kind of visualize what we're going to be doing here in a little bit. Arizona State, obviously lose Cam Scatterboo for Kenny Dillingham going into his 3rd season. Excellent job in winning the Big 12 championship in their debut year in that conference. Everyone doubted him, just like us at Your Sports Outpost. One of the other teams, we got 10 of the 12 teams that participated in the 12-team playoff in our preseason poll last year. Probably going to get all 12 of them this year, to be quite honest with you, because we're that good. We're that good. We know ball. But yeah, running back Cam Scatterboo gone. It's unfortunate that he has moved on. But it is what it is. Got to be able to replace and reload. I think maybe Arizona State might have done it. But they also have some elements that have were there from last year. Wide receiver Guillory, another guy that they lost, unfortunately. Didn't have huge production, but was a kind of a big play guy in the red zone. So kind of losing that element kind of sucks. But we'll see if they can, again, be effective there. They lost some guys on the defensive line. I forgot to put their names down. They lost about 3 to 4 guys. Then I think it was an outside linebacker as well. Not too many losses. I think they have about 14 starters coming back. So key players, kind of hard to pick because there's a lot of starters coming back. But yeah, Sam Levitt. I was really surprised with him last year. I did not expect him to rise to the occasion. I was expecting Sims to be the starter going into 2024, but when he was named the winner of that job, I was like, okay, this Michigan State kid, okay, I'm in. So to go through the rest of this pro style offense, big transfer coming in from Army, Udo. I really like this kid. Seems pretty solid. Has some big play potential, just like Cam Scatterboo. Not the biggest guy either, but is very physical. Really liking him. And then there's some other running backs behind him that should complement the backfield there. Wide receiver Tyson, huge guy that they were able to retain and not lose to the transfer portal. Again, a very good job by Kenny Dillingham. Just like Spencer Danielson at Boise State, to be able to not lose a ton of guys or just guys that would be big going into 2025. And one guy I think we're going to be saying his name a lot, Moss, coming out of Fresno State. A guy that was a very good connection with Mikey Keene over there for the Valley Dogs. I'm very excited to see him. Tight end, Meteor. He's coming back. Should be kind of that bigger target in the red zone and just bigger target in general for Sam Levitt. And then the reason why Arizona State has moved themselves kind of into the top 10 is their offensive line. I don't want to brag or anything like that, but their offensive line coach technically follows me on X. I don't know why. I don't know how. I had to check it the other day to make sure when I said this on the stream. I was like, oh shit. Tuatelli still follows me on X, dude? Okay. All right. I guess I'm doing something right. But regardless, yeah, the offensive line, great depth. I just dabbled into the depth chart the other day because I was finishing up my notes for the Wednesday show. Coleman has moved to guard, apparently, who was the center last year. And then Helton, I think it's Wade Helton, who's a transfer coming in from Iowa State, a freshman, redshirt freshman, who might be starting for Arizona State. That, if that is a thing, they even have more depth than I anticipated. And I might have to readjust my spot for them on my top 25 offensive line. This offensive line is going to be the best, maybe in the Big 12. I know there's Utah, but it might be the best. They also have left tackle Atkins coming back, Inacho at right tackle. The guy that might be losing the starting job, who comes in from the transfer portal but will add depth, a Big Bo. I'm expecting him to actually play this year quite significantly, somehow, some way. I'm forgetting the other guard's name. But yeah, I was very surprised to find that Helton, who's actually a Corona Centennial product out of Corona, California, him and his twin brother transferred over from Iowa State to Arizona State. But yeah, the offensive line going to be one of the best, if not the best, in the Big 12 this year. Going to the other side, one of the best for this 4-3/4-2-5 defense is going to be their secondary. The reason why they beat Iowa State, the reason why, I mean, technically the defensive line shut down that running game, but they did a solid job in kind of slowing down Texas in that Peach Bowl that went to overtime. But Rouser, Alfred, and Robinson are back. I really like Rouser, aka Ghost. He is just an absolute beast. Alfred is just an absolute stellar player. Those guys are going to be playing on Sunday for sure. In the defensive trenches, that defensive tackle Fight, who I believe is a captain, he's going to be back. Defensive end Smith, and then one of their key linebackers from last season, Elliott, is also returning. Just a great defensive group. This Arizona State team, on the run they might go on this year, they might go undefeated. These boys might go undefeated, which means the Big 12 might get two teams just because the Sun Devils go undefeated. You heard it here first. Okay, I'm having them go 10-2, but if they go undefeated, this will allow that conference to have an extra, I think, player to go participate in the playoff. Week 2, it's going to be a big game because it's early in the season, but they're in Starkville against Mississippi State. Well, let's just say Mississippi State has not been doing well. We did the preview of that one because it was kind of one of the better matchups in week 2 to kind of talk about. I still think it is because Lebby should be a little bit better, even though he lost quite a bit in the transfer portal. Yeah, that should be a great game. It was just a nail biter, close to close slugfest in Tempe last year, where I was very surprised that Arizona State won. I was expecting Mississippi State to win that game, but it was turnovers. That defensive front just really ate up that offensive line, and we kind of just saw that for the rest of the season, which was kind of a great surprise to see from Arizona State. I mean, I have a former teammate that played at Arizona State, so I kind of have there's Boise State, and then the Arizona State is kind of one of those number 2 teams that I kind of cheer for just because of that. So it's just great to see the Sun Devils be successful, especially through those terrible years after Herm left as head coach. Week 4, they are at Baylor. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a tough game, but very winnable. But is that the game they lose in Texas, like they did against Texas Tech last year? We'll see. I think that's gonna be a telling game to see where this team is at. If they lose against Baylor, I still think they go 10-2. Baylor just is like, not that there's unknowns, there's a lot of knowns. It's just like, are those players going to show up again this year? They did lose, I think, a running back, Pendergrass, who just got injured. He's like, and it really sucks to find out about injuries just before the season starts. And he's one of those guys. We're going to talk about another guy for Alabama, but yeah, I'm expecting though Arizona State to win that game. We have to go to week 7, but before week 7, they have a bye, which helps them go into Salt Lake City. They haven't won in Salt Lake City in a while. It's been almost 10 years. But technically the last time they beat Utah back-to-back, that was the last time. So I think Kenny Dillingham has the boys to do it. They just need to do what they did last year and just win in the trenches there. Week 8, Texas Tech, Tuffy, a team that got the best of them, not because they were technically better, but they drew a lot of flags in key moments. That's the reason why Arizona State lost in Lubbock last year. Texas Tech, one of the best teams in scoring first half points, and then on top of that, they're pretty cheeky in getting you to draw a flag. So that's just Texas Tech's way. Week 10 at Iowa State. If everything goes smooth, let's say they're undefeated up to that point, that game becomes even bigger, and I think they can win it on the road. They did lose to Cincinnati, but that was because Levitt got hurt. That is also an issue that we're going to talk about in weaknesses, but let's go to week 14, Arizona. I know they destroyed the Wildcats last year, and I think this game is also at home. I think the Wildcats are just going to be better under Brennan in year 2 than obviously last year, a lot more competitive. Noah Fafita is going to definitely show up for that game because that, again, I told you, Arizona State, very close to my heart. I had an ex-teammate there. I remember his time there where Arizona State was on a good run and they got to that Arizona game and they lost when they shouldn't have. That's the game where I'm like, I think maybe it could be one. Let's say they go 10-1. That might be that 2 game. Might be the 2 game there, which is again the weakness. I think it's going to be injuries because last season Sam Levitt got hurt right before that Cincinnati game. Wasn't able to play. Sims tried to do the best he could. They lost over there in Ohio. The Texas Tech game, why they lost? Mental mistakes. This is how like the nitty gritty of games are for top end teams that I think Arizona State is going to be. Mental mistakes. How can you minimize those? If they can do that this season, 12-0. I'm just saying it. 12-0. Okay. Notre Dame, South Bend, dude. I definitely gotta get out of here eventually, but you know what, guys? I worked on this show for a while, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna finish this off. Okay, bold predictions on Wednesday. Oh my gosh. Okay, number 8, Notre Dame. Here we go. Marcus Freeman, another year, another dollar. I love his secondary. Changes though. Defensive coordinator Chris Ash. We'll see how that works out for the Fighting Irish. Kind of the first team in a while that we said like there's kind of a change for, but yeah, new defensive coordinator Chris Ash. He's a former head coach, I think at Rutgers, and then spent some time here and there. I think he even dabbled in the NFL. Should be good enough for Notre Dame. Quarterback, obviously, good old Riley Leonard has moved on. It also was kind of an issue at times. But let's keep moving. Tight end Evans, Mitchell Evans, is gone. Unfortunately, a big guy for them last year. And that big target has moved on. Linebacker Kaiser, defensive tackle Mills, another defensive tackle across the third. And then defensive back Watts. Those guys are the reason why Notre Dame went on the run last year. It wasn't because of Riley Leonard in the offense. It was because of those names that I just named off. They are gone. Let's see how Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman is able to reload with those stellar losses. I think he's done it. Technically, last year, I watched one of their new freshman linebackers at Jay Sarah play. He was freaking amazing. He's not in the key player section, but he might find the field because I think he's actually going to get some playing time. This offense is going to be led by their running back room. Jeremiah, sit your ass down. Love is back. The best running back in college football. He is going to most likely be a Heisman finalist. I don't think he's going to win the Heisman, but I think he's going to be a finalist. You also have Jadarian Price, who's going to be coming back and joining him in the backfield. He's going to be also stellar as well. Great third down back. I think you have an awesome wide receiver core with Faison and Greathouse. And then you have the addition of Fields coming in from Virginia. I don't want to say stack wide receiver core. It's just going to depend on the quarterback, who I don't think has been named yet. CJ Carr is who I'm assuming is going to be the starter for the game against Miami. Mincy, or however you pronounce his last name, I haven't learned how to say yet because I'm not expecting him to be the guy. CJ Carr, he's going to be, again, more of who's that gorgeous guy that played for them a couple years ago that I already forgot his name, number 10 that came in from Wake Forest. Regardless, he's going to be more of less of a Riley Leonard quarterback. He's going to be more of a passer. I think he's decent with his feet. Can extend plays a bit, but once it comes against like an elite defensive front, he's not going to be able to evade pressure, to be quite honest with you. But should be an improvement through passing the ball. It's just the risk that he's going to take. You know, that's the big thing. Risk that quarterbacks take. Not a lot of people think about that. Offensive line. Right tackle Wagner is back. Left guard Croft. I can't not pronounce that. My head is kind of going everywhere because I'm getting towards the end of this thing. Scroff. Left tackle Knapp, who was a true freshman last year. I was absolutely impressed with him. He did have a season-ending injury. He looks like he's coming back and going to be able to be somewhat full health. Hopefully that doesn't leak in that Miami game. But a very impressive offensive lineman that was a true freshman last year. Went into College Station and was a starter. That was absolutely tremendous. It was actually our first watch along we did on the channel, watching him. And then for the 4-2-5 defense, you got Osbury, Bowen back. Bowen, solid guy there. Defensive backs, you got Moore, Scherler. He's not a starter, but I'm expecting him to get a lot of snaps. And maybe even replace Watts in his production eventually is Strowman. He comes from Virginia Tech, another Hokie that we were talking about there. Marcus Freeman's the last couple of seasons, especially the last 2 seasons. Well, I said a couple is 2, but you know what I mean. Especially the last 2 seasons, the defensive backs have been stellar for Notre Dame, and that's the reason why they have been really close with a lot of games, and then winning games that I think in the past 20 years, a lot of people would have said like, oh, they're not going to win that game. And then they won. It's like, oh, okay. All right, cool. Sounds good. Defensive ends, Burnham. And then this one's a fun one to pronounce. Tuahala Maka. That one's, I can't wait to say that one when we do Notre Dame watch alongs. He is going to be awesome. Yeah, there's Villanu Asa. He actually comes from St. John Bosco, and then Faramino, I think that's how you pronounce it. He comes from J. Sarah. Those are 2 products out of Southern California that come from the same football league, different teams. Kind of crazy. But yeah, I really like the way Marcus Freeman has been coming to Southern California and recruiting some of the best guys in the area, and they're translating well. It's good to see. Toughest games, week 1. They are at Miami. I think they win that game. It's going to be a toughie, I think, in the beginning because of the weather. And then just getting those, early game jitters out, early season jitters, whatever you want to call it. I think they're going to blow out the Hurricanes, get one back on them on their own turf. We have a bye, and then we go into week 3. Texas A&M, which is kind of smart. I think that was a smart move to give them a bye, especially the rest going down to South Florida. Texas A&M is going to be very physical with them. We kind of already talked about it a little bit, but that game is going to be determined on the quarterback mistakes. Week 5 at Arkansas, going to be tricky. This team lost to Northern Illinois at home. Could this be the game? Or could it be in week 6 against Boise State? That was our number 3 top 10 non-conference games because we just think the Broncos are just legit. We just think they're legit. They're going to give them problems. They're going to give them issues. They're going to be cheeky, and they're going to expose their weaknesses for sure. But can they play full quarters? That's the real question there. And then we have week 10, but before week 10, there's a nice bye. I have BC there. They're on the road in Massachusetts. Is that going to be tricky for them? Maybe. Just maybe. I have them going 10-2. The 2 games I'm thinking they're going to lose are 2 home games. Okay, they already lost 1 home game to a MAC team last year because, well, it wasn't really hard to shut down, I guess, with a solid secondary. A&M has that. And then on top of that, they're going to be able to run the ball just as effectively. We'll see how great it goes for them. But I think it's going to be the A&M game and then the Boise game. I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds like, what? Boise State's going to go to South Bend and beat Notre Dame with this great of a defense? Hey, man, I've seen crazier things, okay? I've seen crazier things. And I just believe in my Broncos. That's it. Because the biggest weakness is going to be quarterback play. Boise State did an excellent job in getting to Drew Aller, especially in that second half. Or actually, it was towards the second half of the second quarter. They just were like, okay, we just have to send it. And they were effective. And they have a very similar defensive front that they had last year. I think they can expose this Notre Dame offensive line, who does not have the best record in terms. I would have to go look at their PFF numbers, but I don't think they have like the greatest numbers in terms of pass blocking. Run blocking, yes. You have Jeremiah Love, but like run blocking, yes. But it's going to be the pass blocking where I think, again, the weakness is going to be exposed. On top of that, if you have bad quarterback play, it's not going to be a good time. But Notre Dame is number 8 because, again, they have an ACC schedule with like Texas A&M and Boise State in there. And technically Arkansas on the road. Regardless, Clemson is at number 7. Changes. They have a new co-offensive coordinator, Kyle Richardson, and Matt Luke. Yeah, they got a lot of heads there calling plays. They also got Tom Allen, who's a former Indiana head coach at defensive coordinator. Should be pretty solid there. And then defensive coordinator Nick Eason. They lose Affa at running back. They lose defensive back. That was pretty solid for them, Mickens. And then they lose a solid linebacker, Carter, who are gone. And then Trey Williams, who they lost to the transfer portal. Key players for this air raid offense, you got Cade Klubnik with an awesome wide receiver core, and Moore Williams Wesco Jr. and a new transfer get from Southeastern Missouri, Smith. We'll see how he transitions. I think they have one of the deepest wide receiver rooms in the country. The reason why Klubnik is going to be pretty solid this year and a Heisman finalist most likely. Davidson, one of the best running backs in the recruiting class this past year. He's one of the few freshmen that we have been talking about. Saunders, Bachmeyer. There might have been another freshman that I'm missing off the top of my head, but those are like the big 3 freshmen this season. Maybe Decory Moore. Actually, we're going to talk about Oregon right now in a little bit. Offensive line, one of the top 5 offensive lines, if not maybe top 3. We'll talk about that more on Wednesday. You have right tackle Miller, right guard Parks, right tackle Lay, and that center Lincecum. Just dudes that have a ton of starts. Some of those guys got extra years because of the Rona stuff, which is good for them. For the 4-3, 4-2-5 defense, we have Woodaz and Brown, probably one of the best pairings in the country. And then on the flanks of them, in the defensive front, you have Parker, who is going to be probably a first-round draft pick for the NFL draft next year. And you have Helt, who was, I think, a top 5 defensive end out of the portal coming in from Purdue. Defensive tackle Woods, another guy who's going to be a first round draft pick most likely next NFL draft season. And then at defensive backs, I mean, like, this defense is pretty loaded. It's probably the, again, top 3 defense in the country. You have Terrell, Barnes, Griffin, and Hampton. That's just stupid how they have that many guys. Let's go over to the toughest games. Obviously, LSU at home. They're winning that one. They're winning. Look at me. They're winning that game. Okay, they're winning that game. I'm finally gonna get an LSU game in the beginning of the year, right? And then that's the one. Last 2 years, I picked them over USC. I picked them over Florida State, and they just burned me. Now I'm gonna burn them. Week 3 at Georgia Tech. That's gonna be toughy because it's just gonna be physical, but they should get the win there. I don't think Keys under Georgia Tech under Keys, who's the head coach, has beaten Clemson yet. It's gonna be tough. Just gonna be tough. Week 6 is where we have to go to North Carolina. Bill Belichick. The first time these two legendary head coaches go at it. Dabo, Belichick. They have a nice bye week before that too, so the extra preparation is going to help because Bill Belichick is just details, and that's how you're going to clean it up. And that game has actually been in the past, just a close one. I think the last time they played was when Jake May was quarterback for the Tar Heels. SMU week 8, that's just going to be a tough game. It is at home though. Week 8 SMU. Week 12 they're at Louisville. That's just a very good environment for the Cardinals. Do they get the job done? We'll have to wait and see. They definitely got the job done last year. They were just able to expose Clemson, and then also with special team stuff too. That was the one thing I forgot to put in the weakness parts. They got to clean up the special teams. Week 14, South Carolina. They're in Columbia for that one. You know, is it going to be the continual back and forth of the other team winning on the host turf? That's a very interesting one. But we have to wait till week 14. That's kind of a bummer for the Palmetto Bowl. Weaknesses, secondary containment against, elite opponents, really. I think a majority of these ACC teams are going to shut a lot of it down. It's just going to be, big plays, how that happens. They had the ball moved down on them against SMU. Kevin Jennings did a great job. But yeah, that, and then I think special teams. That's the one thing I forgot to put in the weaknesses in my notes. That's how they lost a little bit with the Louisville game, but also they didn't shut down the run game. That was another problem that they had. And Louisville has 2 great backs coming back this year. But yeah, that's Clemson at number 7. Oregon knows how to reload under Dan Lanning, the number 16 on Your Sports Outpost top 25. And the final team we're going to talk about here. Quarterback, obviously a big change. Dalen Gabriel is gone. Jordan James is also gone. Tez Johnson, Holden at wide receiver, Ferguson at tight end. That's so much production right there. The offensive tackles, Cornley and Cornelius. Cornley came off the board. I think it was a 2nd or 4th tackle off the board, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe it was Cornelius. No, it was one of those two that came off the board really early. 4 defensive backs are also gone for them. Defensive tackle, Caldwell and Harmon. That's just a lot of big bodies gone. And then at defensive end, Birch. That was a big loss for them. And it's unfortunate, but I think Oregon's done it. Oregon might have done it. As we're going to get into the final section for the key players. The spread option, Dante Moore. He's a sleeper for the Heisman this year. Absolute stud. He's already beaten some pretty good guys. I don't know if you knew this, but the guy that was the number 1 draft pick, Cam Ward, Dante Moore has already beaten a guy like that when he was at UCLA as a starter, as a true freshman. He sat out last year, is really probably knows this system from back to front, and is going to be a great operator. I cannot wait to see him play. He only got a few snaps for Oregon last year. He's going to be just a great quarterback to watch this year. But the reason why Oregon is at number 6 and so high, I think, is because of their great offensive line. Dan Lanning got the number 1 tackle this year in Isaiah Ward from Nevada. He's going to be playing left tackle for the Ducks. Right tackle, Hartke. He comes from Texas State. Texas State has some pretty awesome offensive linemen last year. At center, veteran Lalo Lu. And then at left guard, also coming from the portal from USC, Pragon, Emmanuel Pragon to be precise. He's actually the reason why we had USC in last year's top 25 for offensive lines, but not this year. Tight end Shadiq is also back. Great athlete. He had an amazing play in the Big Ten championship game. I don't know if you guys remember that. Wide receiver Bryant Jr. Freaking dyslexia there. Benson, who comes in from the portal from Florida State, and then the big guy, I think he's going to be leading it, and he's a true freshman from Duncanville, Decorian Moore. He's kind of this year's Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams. He's just going to be a stud, absolute stud. I think he's a 5-star recruit, the number 1 wide receiver in the country out of the recruiting class. Yeah, and he's like, I remember seeing the spring clips. I was like, how does Dan Lanning just keep doing this? But he has. And then on top of that, okay, they lost Jordan James. They lost Bucky Irving the year before. Well, guess what? They came in and got another guy in the portal, even though those guys I don't think were portal guys. But Hughes from Tulane, he's probably going to be top 3 transfer portal guys in stats. The last 2 seasons for the Green Wave, he's rushed for over 1,000 yards. He's probably going to do that for the Oregon Ducks with this offensive line. This is just going to be some nasty stuff. Nasties. And Dante Moore is just going to he's going to have the best seat in the house. He's going to have the absolute best seat in the house. Oh, and then you have Whittington, the little man that can run your ass over. I really like Whittington. He's kind of my pick for like impact players in certain moments for Oregon this year. I know you got Hughes, but he's going to be that like big third down back. I'm really going to like him this year. The 4-2-5 defense / 4-3 defense, a lot of combinations there. You have the MLB draft pick Bocher coming back at linebacker. He's supposed to be playing in the MLB, guys. Like technically, probably like one of the minor league systems games or teams. 2OT. I can never pronounce this right. 2OT. Terium, I think is his first name. Linebacker outside. He's back. And then Jackson Jr. He got a lot of snaps last year. Bassa is more the main guy, but he came in every so often. He's going to be back, and I think he's going to be a big player. Mateo Uiagalelei, if you remember DJ Uiagalelei, well, this is his little brother who's going to be probably the best player on this defense, I think. I think he's being underrated this past offseason, even though he's like one of the best defensive ends, technically, in a lot of people's eyes. But I think he's like top 2. He's kind of in that range outside the top 5 for some reason. I think he's just a great run disruptor. He has to move laterally in a lot of weird spots, especially if you go back and watch the Ohio State game and you watch run plays. He had to cover a lot of ground for a defensive end. And then on top of that, he's a great rusher. I think he's more of a guy that works best in stunts rather than on one-on-one situations. But that's what this defense does a lot of great things in. And I can't wait to watch Mateo, who's probably going to be another great draft pick. Another St. John Bosco kid. We've been talking a lot about St. John Bosco players in general. We talked about one for Notre Dame there a couple teams ago with Villa Naasa, who also played for Bosco. And then the North Carolina guys. Bosco is just everywhere. Defensive tackle Bear Alexander comes in from USC. Didn't get a lot of playing time there, but should be the guy that steps up this season. It didn't seem like it worked out in Southern Cal. Did some numbers there in Georgia. Just how's it going to work in Oregon? We'll see how it goes. The defensive backs. This is another reason why we have Oregon at 6. They do bring in some guys. Thyman from Purdue. He was the number 1 DB, I think, or top 3 DB. And then number 9 overall in the portal. He's going to be an absolute monster. Johnson, he comes in from Northwestern. A lot of good production for the Wildcats over in the Big Ten. He has Big Ten experience. That's why I like him. And then you have the trio, the new guys stepping up. As I said, they were losing 4 defensive backs. You have Florence, Lupa, and Austin. This is the California trifecta. You have Northern California, Southern California, and then you have SD, or technically like LA and then SD, if you get what I'm saying. Florence is from Lincoln High School, who's out like one of the best high schools in San Diego. I mean, like, this is how good Oregon is in California. Like, they're number one in recruiting. They own the territory because of these reasons. Lupa's from Grant, who's one of the top teams in Northern California, and then Austin, who's out of Long Beach Poly. I think we all know what Long Beach Poly is when we say football. Long Beach Poly, we kind of get it. Also, Snoop Dogg went there. Into this last slide so we can get the hell out of here. Week 5 at Penn State. Okay, great matchup. That's the first big one for them. I know they have Oklahoma State at home week 2, but they're gonna blow the hell out of the Pokes. Then they have a bye before week 7, and that's the Indiana game. Hoosiers are just gonna be a tough team. It's just how they dispatched them. You gotta remember, Oregon struggled against some teams that they should have like just completely destroyed, like Wisconsin last year, if you remember that. That was on the road, but still, we're gonna see probably a game or two where Oregon, they look tremendous in the beginning of the year, and then there's just gonna be games where they just not fall apart, but just struggling. I think that's gonna be one. It's gonna be close. And again, Indiana, the last time they played there in Eugene, they won. But you know, that was a really long time ago. Week 11, Iowa on the road. There's a bye before that. I just think Iowa's going to be able to bounce back, be a hell of a lot more competitive. I'm thinking no more of Iowa's great defense from 2023 season. That's the reason why they got to the Big Ten championship game, but they just obviously were not going to beat Michigan. They didn't even score a point because the offense was non-existent. We'll see if you know, there's a good turnaround. Again, bounce back. Week 14. The game that might be tricky, and this is at Washington. The last time they played there, they didn't win. Obviously, that was when Kalen DeBoer was at UW. But again, this might be the game where Jed Fish wants to prove that he deserves that job, and if he can get a win against Oregon, I just can't wait for the trash talking on social media, to be quite honest with you. I'm thinking 11-1 for Oregon. Honestly, guys, I think they're going to beat Penn State. Penn State just has everything going for them, but I think they're just going to lose that game just in the margins, slim margins there. Just closest game you can think of in Happy Valley. They're going to lose to one of these other 3 games, and that's why they're going to go 11-1, which is like, it's not that much of a drop off from last season, and they lost. Look, think of all the things that they lost. Quarterback, running back, wide receivers, their best tight end, their tackles, and then I think actually they lost some guys in interior, but the tackles went off the board technically first. They lost some guys at defensive tackle who also are going to be playing in the NFL, and then Birch, like, ugh, how'd you lose so much and then be able to regain? Well, it's great recruiting, great transfer portal gets, but on top of that, a lot of people don't give Dan Lanning enough credit. He turns 3-star guys into studs. Okay, he turns those guys into diamonds, because what he does is put the pressure on them, and that's how you make diamonds, baby. And yeah, the weakness for Oregon, secondary containment. I know they got young guys, they're going to make some mistakes. That's where the little things are going to be lost here and there for this defense. They still think it's going to be some great moments. They're going to be able to shut down most of the teams in the Big Ten. But, you know, the youngins there, they're going to have some mistakes in them. Maybe even one of those veteran guys that are coming through the portal. Just containment. Obviously, you know, Jeremiah Smith, that was a problem for them in the Rose Bowl. But they did a pretty decent job in that regular season matchup in kind of shutting him down in a way. It's just like, how do they shut down the rest of the guys that's after they get the you know, the top guys out of the way. But yeah, that is Oregon. We will do the rest of the